Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning. Sorry, I was muted.
We're just going to wait a few minutes to see if Michael arrives.
Okay.
Let me just get us all situated. Okay, we're good.
Good morning. Welcome to the NBAR meeting, May 23rd. First, is there any public comment on anything that's not on today's agenda?
If you're online and wish to speak on an item not on today's agenda, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any raised hands, no public comment.
Thank you. Member recusals. Anybody have any recusals for today's agenda? Good morning, Jim. Agenda status report. Is there anything that we need to know on the agenda?
I know, I think Francisco may have something to add. Or did we want to just do that when we're reviewing the item, Shannon?
Yes, I think so. It's essentially related to the it was agendized for conceptual and error. It should, I believe, be for preliminary, but Francisco will speak to that when we get to the item.
Okay.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks.
The unapproved minutes. Have you all had a chance to look over the unapproved minutes? Does anybody have any changes, additions, omissions? Jim?
No. Nope.
Seeing no comments on that, can we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll abstain. I was absent.
Thank you very much. We got a quorum. We have 4, so that's good. Thank you. NBAR members informational briefings. Anybody have anything to tell us, let us in on? No insights? Staff update. Is there anything from staff?
I do have just a brief update about the FAMCON project. I think you might have even seen it last month at NBAR. And that's now scheduled for the Planning Commission hearing in early July. And I think I had given you an update on some projects in Los Alamos and Lompoc area last time around, the Constellation project and Meyer, and I don't have any changes to either of those. There's anticipated to go to hearing in during the summer. That's so.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's it. We need to go on to the standard agenda now, right, Teresa?
Yes.
Okay. First item up, 25 bar 041, Knollwood Properties LP signed. Will the applicant please come up and introduce themselves and tell us what we need to know?
Yeah, push it. Hi, Jordan Shepherd with Signs of Success. Okay, so yeah, this is a Tobes Group property that we're refreshing the branding on. We've done a few others in town already, Hancock Terrace, Sienna recently got a refresh. So this is their property out off of Foster. And originally, according, Steve Connor did a little research, the planner. He said that it was originally approved under a development plan back in 1980, and then we did a certificate of conformance to add a leasing sign in 2018. So now we're applying for a certificate of conformance to go ahead and refresh the branding across the board. So there is sign number 1 is a main identity sign. 2, 3, and 4 are directional signs that are primarily for the benefit of the tenants. And sign 5 is a directional sign to lead people to the new or to the existing leasing office. So we could go to the next page if you like. And that's pretty much the same information again, just adding the APNs. We can keep going. Materials, aluminum for the main monument and directional signs, acrylic for dimensional letters that are with a painted finish, HDU for the leasing office sign. And that's their colors. Those are their branding colors. That matches up with their website, their other literature. And also the Knollwood tan, we're going to keep that tied in on the main monument. Next page, please. So this is the existing monument. It's been around for quite a while. So I think it might actually go all the way back to 1980. It's been refreshed a few times, but it's time to reface it. And so we can go on to the next page here. So there's the new branding. Size remains the same, the lettering. So we basically have a borderless structure, which conforms with the relevant code as cited there. We've got the address number. And if you want to go to the next page, we can see the measurements which conform with the recent update to square footage with the code screenshotted right there in the bottom left. Okay, next page, please. Here's the one of the existing directories. That one actually had to be remounted because it had fallen over because of age. Next page, please. There's the 2 others as they originally stood, and then this is the new directory. So just simple, clean, raised letters for the branding, painted aluminum, very durable, and then a nice map. The map is the same design that they're using across their other locations, same style, easy to read map for the tenants. Let's continue, please. Yeah, there's the structural build, aluminum welded. And here's the leasing office existing sign. Not a big change here. This was only done in 2018, but we're going to just refresh the branding on it. Next page, please. And there's the new one. And then I think there's a few more pages that take us through existing, if you'd like to go through those. Yeah, there's the attachment. So it's going to be a carved sign. There's Knollwood Professional Center is probably the closest. We got St. Joe's, Knoll Terrace. There's a childcare around the corner. Next page. There's a few more signs in the area. So just, yeah, that's the existing. Yeah, that's existing. So you can see that sign, maybe front of property would be the most relevant one to look at. It's set back quite a bit from the corner, which is why it was made. Why the wall itself, I mean, the sign itself is small, but the wall is larger. So the size is all appropriate for the intended viewing distance. And, it's what people have been used to seeing for the last 44 years, 45 years. So, and that's the end of the presentation, I believe.
Thank you. Any of the board members have any comments?
Just a couple of, the main entry one is, oh, by the way, they look a lot better.
Thank you.
Is it two-sided? What's on the back of the main one?
It's just finished. There's bushes. If you zoom in a little bit there, please. It's depth with landscaping, just on that front. Yeah,
So it's just a common, it's just
it's just a
color?
smooth, smooth painted, painted to match the building colors.
And the same with the direction signs, are they two-sided?
Well, they're all faced single-sided, yeah, because they're catty cornered with landscaping behind each one. You could move around to those other ones if you want.
And it's just a constant, you have a logo or something on the back of it, or just a,
No, it's there's nothing on the back as far as
I think they look great.
because there's nothing to,
And everything's in the same spot that it used to be.
I do have a question, if you can go back to the main one. I noticed that on this one, yeah, that it says now renting. Is that going to be eliminated?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, just cleaning it up a bit.
and then the other question, because of the other signs being somewhat directional in purpose. You had mentioned that.
They're not, there's no arrows, but yeah, it's more of like a you are here.
I'm just wondering whether there's any intention to illuminate these in any way. Particularly like this one,
Mhm.
I'm not talking about a floodlight, but just something so at night that somebody might be able to actually find out where they're going.
Yeah. I don't think they found it necessary in the past, but I think if they were gonna do that, it would be with the landscape upgrade,
Mhm.
maybe in the future. If they were gonna add some more landscaping around it.
So with that in mind, is part of the plan here to augment the landscaping? In
That's
which case-
outside the landscaping is nice. It's got flowers and
What is that landscape material? There's a, is that
grass.
grass?
grass,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that probably ultimately will be replaced, but if you go back to your original or your new proposed sign with the address,
The very
it's
first-
right down on the bottom.
This one?
I think it was the very first slide you showed.
Mhm.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Not this one, the next one. The address numbers are right down on the bottom and it looks pretty barren there, but I'm
Yeah.
assuming that there's might be grass a little further out. It looks like
Yeah.
that's
They're gonna
illumination.
keep it all very low.
Because that's, any kind of landscaping will obscure that for sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke there. That's the plan right there.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
not
that, is that a light fixture in front of it?
I believe you're right there. That's a light fixture that shines.
So
on
to your
it. That's what I
point,
was-
asking.
That's,
This is-
it's outside of what we were dealing with as far as, that's all I was trying to convey.
So are you going to upgrade the light fixture
That would
with a
be,
building permit for this? Are you getting a building permit for this then?
yeah, it's gonna go through building for this.
So because the light fixture is unchanged, you don't have to comply with state law for sign illumination?
Well, again, the light fixtures was outside of the scope that they asked
But
for.
it isn't outside of the scope of what we're doing,
Right.
as is the landscaping.
Yeah, I can certainly recommend it to them. Yeah,
Because it would be, well, obviously to pass today, you'd have to use a pretty low illumination LED light to
Mm-hmm.
the state Title 24 for sign lighting is, as you probably know, really minimum.
Yeah. yeah.
And-
I think the lighting on this sign it's not a big issue for them. The other signs that we've done for them, they're not necessarily lighting them up too much because it's, this is residential areas, so lighting is not something that it's typically, something that if there's going to be traffic going to it, it's going to be during daytime.
The
unless
structural
people are
framing
going.
for this is what? Or is it just a new
Aluminum,
face?
Welded aluminum.
Okay, and it's, okay.
Is there street lighting in the immediate area?
Yeah.
I believe there is some.
I believe there is, yeah.
I think the new branding is really nice though, by the way.
Yeah,
It's very good
Thank you.
looking.
okay.
No more comments?
No, I think I'm okay with it.
We're not scheduled for the standardized preliminary final stuff. What is it? Just to, you get a vote for performance?
Well, oh, I see.
Yes, Steve said that this would just be a one and done.
Yeah, okay, but. Before we do that, can we just check that there's no public comment?
Since we don't have any more comment from the board, is there any public comment? Anybody in the audience that'd like to speak to the item on agenda right now?
So we don't have anybody in the audience, but if you're online and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any public comment.
Seeing no public comment, I'll entertain a motion to approve the signage as presented.
I'd like to ask one more question.
Okay.
Just something we're conferring about. It has to do with the address, the numbers. I'm not comfortable with what that material is, that it is substantial enough to be across a brick
Oh, yeah.
surface.
Oh, yeah, it's,
And that it's going to be seen, I mean, you part of
So
your
what I could
branding should
do is-
include the address.
what I could do is reflectorize it if you'd like. I could, we did that for the Emergency Operations Center with the same material down in Santa Barbara. So we could reflectorize the address if you prefer.
I think that would be a good idea, because I'm concerned that any landscaping at all will obscure this and emergency responders
Yeah.
won't see that address, who are less familiar than say I am, because I drive by it every day, but
Yeah. But that's gonna be a 1/2 inch thick material. It'll stand up just fine across the surface, but we can reflectorize it too.
It may stand up, but I don't think it looks, it's not up to the standard of the sign that you've done. The sign is better looking than
It's the same, it's
represented,
the same material as the letters on the sign.
but it doesn't look like it's integrated.
Hmm.
And that's why you're here is for us to give you comments. And
How tall?
I think the white color is gonna be your best contrast, though.
How tall are the,
I think that's on the next page.
well, in this one though, it looks like something has been the landscaping has been just cut down there. What is there gonna be lawn going up to it? or-
Yeah, I believe it's lawn. I believe
the other
it's right
picture,
there.
you had flowers there.
Yeah,
Well, that
that
was-
was the,
it was the original picture from the corner looked like it was lawn.
Yeah,
Or kind
I
of lawn,
think it was lawn.
but
I,
that's.
I think that's seating that if you look down at it right now, I think they've reseeded it there recently for it to be lawn.
Ultimately.
Are you able to go to the next page to answer that question about the size of the letters?
It looks like it's a height of the brick block, which is
Yeah.
either.
That's
6 or-
5 inch, yeah. Which is a good for the viewing distance from the corner. I believe it's even bigger than the word Meadows, so it's bigger than the branding.
It's important, I think, to remember that that address goes with the entire property,
Mhm.
but each unit has its own physical address.
Mhm.
And when we
that-
think about responding and emergency responders, they're going to come to a physical address that they're going to get, which won't be that sign. It's going to be a unit, basically. And so that particular number, however it is requested and required, isn't going to be that important to anybody that's an emergency responder. Nobody's looking for 4336 Knollwood. They're looking for an individual suite, which is going to take them to each one of the building's physical addresses too. So
And
it is kind of low and it's probably going to be obscured. But I'm not really sure that it's overly important to the generalities of emergency response. So-
those directories will also.
I do too.
The directories will serve the emergency, just to follow up with that, and when we worked with the fire marshals and that, oftentimes when we go in and do a multifamily property that doesn't have a directory, they ask for directories to go in at the entrance just to serve the emergency responders. And this property has 3, which is above average.
That's what we've found in other places too. We own some condos in Quail Meadows and they're the same. So. Thank you. Any other comments?
Well, that's about it.
Are you guys okay with the size and the reflectiveness of them or?
I think the overall signs are great. That's my only nitpick is the address. I use Google, but I always like to see the number on the thing where I'm actually in the right place. So
I like the sign. I don't like the situation with the numerals. I think they should be on the sign.
Where were they before?
We could look at the plan there.
Right there,
Yeah.
full address.
We did this, that was put before we put the leasing office sign up. So if you could go over to the leasing office for a minute. So it would probably be the next one. If you wanted additional identification under the leasing office, that might be the the most straightforward way to approach it.
Well, this is
Because-
going,
Because that number really is just identifying, it's getting them to their leasing. I think that address is for the leasing office. That's why there's that big arrow pointing.
I mean, is there a reason there's such resistance to this? To incorporate?
Well, we're trying to keep that consistent with their other sites and keeping the name, and as was mentioned, we're trying to direct the people through the directories.
well, how about this? Shannon, can you confirm whether this will get a building permit?
It will get a building permit, which
Okay, so will
would
fire
include
also-
fire review, most
Okay,
likely.
fire's
yeah.
gonna review it, then I'll be okay with this. I'll defer to fire since they're the ones that are gonna respond.
Those are the guys that need to see the.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
We
they
just-
do have specific requirements and things that they're looking for on these sign, especially on multifamily projects or like Dunn School, for example.
Sure. Oh, that makes sense. I mean, to Robert's point, though, some of these roads, inner roads of this facility may not actually contact the main road. So you could be driving around for hours looking for some road that you have no ideas where it is. So if the fire department's comfortable with it, then I'm comfortable with it.
Can we get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion and we approve this time.
A second?
I'll second that.
Both moved and seconded. Can we have a vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'm sure.
Okay, Teresa, are we ready for item number 2?
Yes, we are. Let's see.
Okay, 23 bar 062 Desai Family Trust, single family dwelling and attached garage. Will the applicant please introduce themselves and tell us about their project?
Morning, I am Robert Adamus, engineer of record for the project. I'm here on behalf of Pete Newman. Pete Newman, who is the contractor of record. At the beginning of the meeting, Teresa handed me a list of in-bar comments from previous meetings, so I'd like to essentially address each of those. There are 18 of them with 17 that are relevant. So comment number 1 is provide building sections, and we do have a sheet AS1, which is, if we look at just keep going through there. That's it right there. So those are the building sections, and feel free to zoom in on either one of them. What the sections show is that there is a split level design. On section AA in particular, you can see that there is a retaining wall at that split level transition. I think that was probably the most significant retaining wall on the site. In our previous presentations, there were quite a few site retaining walls. All of those have been removed. So we are no longer doing site retaining walls. We're only doing this single retaining wall at the transition from the lower level to the upper level. So these are building sections that show, the cross section through each level. If you want to scroll up so that we can see those lower ones there. Section CC is a section through the upper level, and then section FF is a longitudinal section through the ramp area that leads up to the garage. So there is no retaining wall at that transition. That's essentially fill. The ramp area is fill. Driveway, yeah. It's the driveway, yes. Yes, we do have a site plan. Well, I was going to go through each one of these, but it's up, I can pause and answer questions along the way.
Yeah, please continue with your presentation.
Okay, so if we go to provide elevations that match, and this appears to be a typo on the comments, flood plan, but it should be floor plan. I just want to make it clear that this is not in a flood zone. Okay, just so we're clear on that. So it's a provide elevations that match the floor plan. And so this is a material and color board, but it is essentially an elevation. And there are 2 sheets there that show color texture for each of the views. So we're looking at the south elevation there. The tower in the middle is an elevator tower, and it's a 2-person man lift, essentially. It's not a formal elevator. So it's a 2-person man lift. And then we have the north elevation, which is at the north side of the lot, looking back at the garage and the residence. We do have some stairs there. The stairs are shown as transparent, simply for visualization purposes. But there are stairs that lead up to the rooftop deck above the garage, which is to the left. And there are solar panels that are on top of that flat roof garage. Can we go to the next page, please? So here we have the east and the west elevations. There was comment as to why the east doesn't match the west. And that's kind of a broad comment. Essentially, the east elevation shows a larger portion of the rooftop deck at the lower level. I think if you use the elevator tower as a reference point, and we then go to the east elevation, which is right down below, you can see there's a portion of what we consider a terrace above the upper level. There's a terrace above the upper level, and a portion of that terrace wraps around the elevator tower. That's why there's a difference in the elevation view between the east and the west. And so on the east elevation up above, the beige portion, that's the garage. And then if we go down to the west elevation there on the left, whoops, you can see the staircase there. That staircase is the staircase that goes to the rooftop deck above the garage. In the comments previously, there was some concern, some question about the stairs leading up and an inconsistency with the stairs leading up to the rooftop decks. So I'd like to direct your attention to the lower right on the west elevation. You can see the retaining wall. That's that vertical gray area there. That's the site retaining wall that is at the transition of the split level. We have a silhouette of some site stairs that transition from the lower level to the upper level. Then we have a landing, that's the brown horizontal portion that leads to a silhouette of stairs going up to the rooftop deck at the lower level. And so there's stairs there to that. So there's a rooftop deck at the lower level. There's a rooftop deck at the garage, and then there is a small terrace area above what would be the accordion style doors that we're looking at directly on the west elevation. Just above those doors is a small terrace. Okay, so those are elevations that are matching the current floor plan. May we go to the floor plan? It's a further up.
Oh, the other way.
Yeah, the other way. The floor plan, yeah, keep going up. That's the roof plan. Let's go up one. There it is. So here's the floor plan. And so as I was commenting, if we look at the far left, you can see there are a set of steps that are related to the site itself. That's the vertical steps there. And then there are some diagonal steps what we're looking at here with those diagonal steps is inside the building, inside the residence. And the diagonal steps transition from the lower den into the upper living room area. So the only retaining wall at this point in the project, you'll see it. Could you zoom in, please? Right into the center there. So you'll see those dashed lines. Those dashed lines are retaining wall underneath the living room. And then horizontally at the transition level, there's a retaining wall. One of the comments, and if we look at the horizontal area where it says DW and DW, and then we look at the elevator shaft at the left there. So that horizontal line is down at the bottom, little, yeah, that's it right there where the mouse is. Go down just that one right there. That is your retaining wall. There was a comment as to why there are windows located in the retaining wall. I'd like to clarify for the MBAR comment. Those windows do not exist within the retaining wall. They do, however, exist above the retaining wall. So because those windows are located at the transition line, there's 7 foot of retaining wall. There's another 9 feet of standard wall framing, and those windows are located within that standard wall framing. They're not located within the retaining wall. So that's clarifying. That's correct.
I don't think that was what the comment was.
Number 13, comment number 13, clarify why retaining wall has windows.
Right, it isn't that retaining wall. It's the one, if you look at section D, that you didn't call out as a retaining wall, which is a retaining wall.
Section D.
Right.
Let me take a look there.
Because that's where the other retaining wall is. Can you show section D?
It's on AS1, so it will be down. There it is. So
No, zoom in on-
section
Zoom in on it.
upper right corner.
No,
There you go.
that one. You see where the driveway is? You see where the wall is to the den? Well, that's a retaining wall. Over the other side,
Oh, the other side?
that's a retaining wall. And you've got windows in it.
So if I may, that is a stepped retaining wall with a framed pony wall above.
Right, but it's not shown anywhere. And I think if you take your driveway section and you superimpose it on your elevation, those driveways don't match. It's actually much higher than it is, if I'm not mistaken.
So
Like if you look at east elevation, and you also take your section line that shows your driveway slope, and I don't remember where that is,
let's
and
go
you
to
superimpose them
CB2.
on each other.
Let's go down.
And you need to figure out how you're going to step a retaining wall and make it look good. Because it's going to be a different depth than your wall. I guess I should wait until you're finished.
Let's go down one more, please. There it is. Okay.
Now see the driveway slope, make sure that reflects what your grading plan shows in this section.
Yes.
Because I don't think that's, if I did my numbers right, it's your slope there is a couple of feet or 3 feet, 4 feet lower than it actually should be.
So with all due respect, previously there were some inconsistencies there. But
Would you check and
I
make
can-
sure that this is right? Because I don't
Yes.
think it is.
I can assure you that we've taken pains with it because
Also,
it was
there's a
sticking
break in
point.
the wall. It's not flush. It's not. So you need to show how the retaining wall works, because I don't think that those windows are going to be like they're shown. But double check it. But that's a retaining wall, just.
So what we will do for future presentation is show the silhouette of the stepped retaining wall. That way it clarifies what is actually underground and above ground at that grade plane.
Well, and also it's not a flat wall. If I remember what the floor plan looks like, there's a jog in it about 3 or 4 feet. So, and in one other plan, it said there's a planter in front of it. So I guess you were trying to cover up the retaining wall with the planter. It's not shown either. I know these are conceptual. I was just pointing out things you need to, that's just one of many that you need to address.
So when you say it's one of many, are the many that you speak of the 18 that are listed here?
No.
Or
these
are there
different
some
drawings, so
additional ones that are not listed here?
It won't be, we're not giving you 18 things and then as soon as you solve them, you're done, because you've changed the plan. So we're going to have additional comments.
So
Wasn't this plan originally?
It was made out of containers,
Correct.
which drove the design. And I think that you've thrown away the container concept.
that's
Right.
correct.
And a lot of the shapes and stuff are still a carryover because they're liked. There's some things I don't understand, like why do you have you have flat panels on top of the garage, yet it's a deck. How do you resolve that? How are you working that out?
We do show a roof plan where we can take a look at that if,
Well, it's mostly all solar panels. So
so
why
that's
bother-
the roof plan there, if you
Why
don't
bother
mind.
putting a glass, well, a stairway, which doesn't.
Guardrail.
The guardrail and all that stuff, why do that if you're not going to be able to use it?
So a lot of this is owner driven, owner preference. The owner has requested that we put a glass guardrail around the rooftop and he's the one who's building the project, so we can respect that.
Your job is to design and help him.
Exactly.
And when things don't make any sense, you need to call it out and ask him why. Because I just don't see, it's a big expense and there's no deck up there. There
is a deck. We're looking at it right now. There's
no deck that's usable for humans.
yes, there is, right.
And the
If you
guardrail
zoom
is
in,
intended to
Teresa,
keep
on
the
the,
views for a human, and it just doesn't make any logical sense to me.
so up to the upper right. To answer your question directly, there's a staircase that goes up to the rooftop deck. There is a 3-foot perimeter walkway to accommodate fire service for the solar panels. And at the south end of the rooftop deck on the garage, there is sufficient space to accommodate seating and gathering at the front end of that.
Just in terms of space utilization, you've put the deck in an area with no views. On the right, it's into a hill. On the left, it goes into the building, and the forward, it goes into the driveway, and the other side is solar panels. So just to help him design a better space, maybe it should be laid out differently. I think there's views all over the place, and you picked a spot where your deck's gonna be that doesn't have any attributes, positive attributes.
Can I ask you a question about the solar panels? Are they fixed flat panels? Or are they articulating?
They're
panels?
articulated. They're angled, yes, articulated.
So you're trying to take advantage of the most sun you can and not get them interrupted by the roof and the building of the rest of the house?
That's correct, yeah. Keep them out of the shadow.
Since we're talking about decks, there's a deck, and tell me if I'm wrong, but the upper deck is only accessible by elevator.
It is accessible by stairs. If Teresa, if you don't mind, can you push that up just a little bit? Oop. Scroll it. Yeah. So you can see there's steps that are leading up to that from the lower roof deck to the upper terrace.
Okay.
And then right adjacent to the elevator tower.
Now, the roof plan, it has about a 4 foot, it has a 4 foot overhang. Most places, except where the roof terrace is, there's no overhang. Is that right? Or is it just not shown?
If you're speaking as to the dashed line on the right, that is an overhang.
Uh-huh.
And that dashed line wraps around to the south.
And it ends in the elevator on one side, but does it continue or does it end?
So it ends right there.
Okay, that's kind of going to be a design problem. I mean, just from aesthetics, I don't see how it needs to be studied.
When you say
What
it's
is-
going to
what is-
be a design problem, in what context?
Aesthetically. Up in the top, it says dormer. What is that?
That is a single slope shed roof dormer.
And it pops up out of the metal roof.
Yes,
Okay. So on your elevations, most of your clear story windows are shown by not showing the roof. Is that right? I mean, you're not going to see any of these, most of the clear story windows on the elevations.
they will be seen. Yes, the clear stories.
But the roof covers them up. Right?
There will be shade and shadow.
When you're looking at the elevation, like the east elevation, there's clear story windows shown in the drawing. You don't see them physically when you're looking at the elevation. It's the roof you're going to see, correct?
No,
So the roof isn't consistent. There, it's broken at the ridge. Is it two different heights at the ridge?
it is in fact two different heights.
Okay.
Would you like to take a look at that at the elevation?
No.
Before you move, I just wanted to ask you a quick question on the dormer.
Okay.
You don't have since you say it pops up, in my mind, I have a thing coming out of a slightly steeper roof and being either the same slope or multifaceted roof. What does that look like? Does that change elevations all the way around and then match the existing slope of the existing roof, or does that have a different direction and slope?
If we
It's
may,
flat.
can we go to sheet AE1 and I can address those questions?
It's a flat roof.
That's correct. So there, if you could please zoom in on the south
Oh,
elevation.
okay, that makes more sense. Now I understand it.
So you
That's what I
can,
envisioned, but I didn't understand the slope and the beginning and the end of it.
right. Now, if you take a look at that dormer roof that is horizontal, that roof is a 6-inch structural insulated panel, SIP. The remainder of the roof is also a 6-inch SIP. So if we continued that 6-inch thickness following the contour of the clerestory windows, what you would see is a 6-inch band, which would be the fascia. So that would be parallel to the slope of the roof, at the same time allowing visibility of the clerestories without covering them.
So the pop-up element you spoke of, that's sort of in the center.
The
of
dormer?
that, why did the roof pitch change? I mean, I guess I'm kind of missing the concept here, I think, but wouldn't that have continued in the same plane? As the roof there?
Or return down at the same plane as the lower roof?
Yeah.
So once again, the owner wanted the maximum amount of light from the eastern sun coming in through the clerestories that are located at the dormer. And we'll go to that elevation next. That would be the east elevation. We were up against a 16-foot height limitation with the exception of the elevator tower. So the elevator tower was allowed to exceed the 16-foot roof height and for mechanical reasons. So there we go, 19 feet.
What is your pitch right now?
1.5 and 12, I believe, is what that is. Yeah, 1 and 12 and 1.5 and
That
12.
way and then 1 and 12 in the other
Right.
direction?
Since you mentioned 16 feet, can you go to, I don't know, section E? The 16-foot envelope isn't flat. The 16-foot envelope follows the existing grade. You've shown it flat and it doesn't on section, I don't know what sheet it is, but it's section, I think it's,
AS1 is the section.
yeah,
Yes, it's like a wet blanket that matches the exact contour of the.
right. If you zoom in on, I think it's E. And that's just an example.
It's not this one, is it?
No, that's on C3, PO. There. Now zoom in on the, is it? No, no, it's site cross section E. I don't know what sheet it's on. I didn't put that on my notes.
It's not this one down here?
No, it's one that, it's one that shows the building envelope and the existing grade. There you go. Now zoom in on that one. See, you've got a building envelope that's flat across the top, but it should follow that dotted line on the bottom. So your 16 feet comes from that dimension, not from a flat pad. See how it's and I don't know if your thing complies or not. So it needs to be at every point within the project, 16 feet above the existing grade. And it's not a flat line. So in terms, you need to show us next time how it complies the way the code's written.
Certainly, that can certainly be shown on this site cross-section EE.
Because you've, by the time you get to the edge of your leftmost part of your project, you've lost probably, I don't know, guessing 6 or 8 feet of elevation. And if you bring that top one down, it's very possible that you're clipping the envelope.
So I understand your concern, and we can certainly develop a schematic to clarify your concern.
Because you don't want to get to the end and
Yeah.
and it'll be checked rigorously, probably.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So may I continue with the numbers listed on the in-bar comments at this time? Sure. Okay. Item number 3 was provide topo plans and show contours. So if we can go to sheet C1, which is the second sheet in the packet. So here we have topo plans with contours. Additionally, I have highlighted the building envelope, which is the phantom line, which is the heavy black line with the 2 dashes. And that is based off of the record map for the building envelope. Additionally, there was a request to show all setbacks. So at the lower inset, where we have the north arrows, we have demonstrated the entire perimeter of the lot along with the required setbacks. So that is a topo plan with contours. Item number 4 was provide roof plan, which we did look at previously. I'm going to skip that one for now. And we're going to go to item number 5, provide grading plan. So if we can go to C5, there's the grading plan. This grading plan has specific areas with specific volumes and quantities that are related to the table at the lower left. So this is the grading plan that shows where we're going to be moving and relocating the soil. Are there any questions on this one?
Can you zoom in on that, the lower area of the driveway, the property line kind of? So which of those lines are those lines in the property line?
So there is the property line, the heavy black line, and then the dashed line is the setback line. Yeah, the topographic map does go beyond that property line just to show context, so it's not chopped off. Yes, yes, it does. Yeah, and I'll look into that to make sure that it's not an error.
We had that question before. Yeah.
Okay,
We asked them to check to make sure that there was some
okay,
easement involved with that.
right. I'll look into that. I mean, this is I'll note that down.
On the same plan, if you could scroll back up just a little bit to where it shows the future ADU,
Yes.
what was the proposed access to that? Other than a walking path, I would assume.
So the garage has a door on both the north and south side. If items needed to be brought through there, obviously materials, but the garage have a door front and back.
Can I add something real quick here? So the ADU, while they put an envelope for it in the future, it's not proposed, like there are no elevations, no building permit submittal, nothing but a square on the plans, but it is something that Francisco and I discussed because potentially it's an issue for fire, like they might not have room to pull a hose, like they might not have the 150 feet in hose length and yeah, so if that is something the applicant's seriously considering, they should probably have a discussion with the building department and county fire before submitting for that ADU.
I mean, my question was, it looks like it's set aside in kind of a rough area, and given that the property already has very little parking, and can imagine there's certainly going to be at least one car attached to that. Where does that car park? And that these may not be things that are germane to our discussion here, but it seems like it needs to be considered. I mean, people don't usually plan something for the future without the intention to do it.
Well, the next question that would come to mind following that train of thought was there isn't any access to it, obviously, unless you made a walking path, which could happen on the slope, but that would be kind of inconvenient to get from the driveway to that particular structure if it ever existed. But the more important thing is for the owner's own use, the garage set, the whole use of the whole piece of property, in my opinion, is they're basically taking a shoehorn and trying to put a size 6 shoe on a size 12 foot. It's backwards and upside down and inside out. The garage is pushed so far back into a cave, basically between the house and the bank. Whether it's a cave or not is irrelevant, but it's pushed into a very difficult place to move in and move out of. And it doesn't have any particular flow or structure that makes it inviting to come up and move around the house. I think that if I was looking to build a house that was comfortable and taking advantage of the views and what was going on, I would start with a completely, totally different kind of a design and lay it out to take advantage of, well, your south is your drive up to location, which is gonna have to be there, but it seems like you could do something so much different and so much better. Once they got rid of the container-driven design, there was just so many more options to take advantage of that lot. But now that's an, purely objective opinion, but that's
I
my,
agree 100%.
agree.
I appreciate all the work that your firm has done to accommodate the owner's wishes and concerns, but the generalized layout of the whole project just is, for words, it's bastardized for the lot, not for the owner, but for the lot. I see a lot. I've been involved in this kind of stuff ever since I was a kid, and I watch people take beautiful curved properties and go in and try to make them flat so they could build a flat house in a thing that's that could more generally fit the contour of the property. That's, hey, look, have some insight, have some openness of mind to be able to figure out how to fit the house into the spot that's there and not make the spot fit your idea of a house. I've always conflicted with that view. Don't pick a hillside lot if you want a farm field house, basically. And I just see when I put my mind into coming up to that house and coming into that driveway area and working with the house that's there, it doesn't flow. It doesn't work. The floor plan doesn't flow. None of the way the house is laid out is comfortable to me. I can't explain it any different. It just doesn't, when I walk through that thing, when you show the floor plan and I try to walk through that, it's not comfortable and it doesn't feel inviting to me. And now that's the best I can explain it from a builder's standpoint.
Sure, if I may address that singular point, because I think it's salient to the entire project. The members of the board are from the Western community. The owner of this house is from the Eastern community. So there is a very distinct difference in the approach to the floor plan with respect to certain elements of faith, orientation, flow. And while I respect your opinion, and I think you have a tremendous amount to offer, I think for this particular plan, and if you want to, maybe not at this time, but at some other time, I could certainly walk you through the floor plan, through the lens from which it was created, which has a separate perspective, a different perspective. Is that clear? Did I clarify that?
It's understandable.
Okay,
but-
understandable. Okay,
yes.
okay, thank you. I just wanted to
Well,
clarify.
I don't think Robert's point was to diminish the cultural aspect.
Right.
Not at all,
I think it
not at
was to
all.
More
Just to
utilize
clarify.
the availability of the site and to make it more functional. And, correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but that was what I got from your comment.
Yeah, no, it was
And-
purely, it was.
And I
purely
understand that.
A physical kind of thing.
Absolutely,
Right.
yeah.
And I do understand that. Also, I would, I would like to add that I'm coming in really after quite a significant amount of time in taking over a design that had a significant amount of work already put into it. And it's been my job to address in-bar comments and clean up what was previously presented. So I've been my input into the design has been very limited because of that.
Well,
We've already figured that part.
Yeah, yeah,
frankly,
We're trying to give you
right.
what we're seeing and we're, obviously Jim's comment was, you got to really push the owner towards something that makes better sense. At the end of the day, if you want a job, you have to do what the owner asks you to do, or you don't get paid, obviously, but, you could build whatever you want to build, as long as you meet the criteria of the ordinances that exist, you can build whatever you want to build at the end of the day. Our sole purpose and reason for being here is to offer as much insight from a bigger pool than just one particular person. Get a little input from everybody about what's going on. I'm a builder and developer by trade. And so I see a lot of things that I go, hey, why did you guys do that? Why did you go to the extra effort when you could have had something nicer with less effort? And that's my opinion by what I see here. Just between you, me, and the fence post, I would have scrapped the whole design when I got rid of the containers. Taking in all of the information that you can get from the owner for his, whatever reasoning he wants to use, get that imposed back into the property. But you've got a lot of property there that could be used a lot more effectively and even leave room and access for an ADU without any problem. The options are unlimited, especially, even with the 16-foot height restraint, a little bit of downward, elevation, you can always go down and use that. You've obviously done some of that with the retaining walls, and have something that presents itself with some fantastic views. I mean, it's up there on the side of the hill. It's got to have just awesome views up there. I haven't obviously stepped on but that's just
I have
just
to
what I
make
see.
One comment about the floor plan you can help them with, no matter what, is the kitchen layout. There's a thing called a work triangle. It needs to be 17 to 23 feet. Yours is something like 40 with an island in the middle. So look into that.
I would like to comment, respond, shall I say, to your mention of the cultural aspect. Faith, tradition, culture, those are all very important things to people. When you're building a home, and it's a privilege to build a home, you should get what you want. And the surrounding neighborhood should also feel like what is being built has some relevance architecturally in the context, because it's going to be part of that community. So the exterior feeling that I think for me is more concerning necessarily than the actual floor plan of the house inside. And I do understand about functioning kitchens and such. But from the exterior, there is such a jumble of elements that don't hang together harmoniously. And my concern is that it will stand out as something that is architecturally lacking in integrity and would be seen significantly by the rest of the community. I mean, these are kind of strong things that we're saying, and we're not saying them lightly. We're saying them trying to be helpful. This is an expensive project, and it should reflect that. And I don't think there's one of us who has any concern whatsoever with what the family does within that home. That's entirely sacrosanct to them. But the exterior is something that we are concerned about, and the use of the property in general. Unless I'm way off page.
I think you're right on.
I think you said the same thing.
Yep.
The roofs don't blend together. They don't flow one to the other at all. The windows are not related to one another at all. None of the fenestration, the doors, there's no patterns. I don't understand. There's these clear story windows that come to a point. By the time you get to the point, there's no glass left. It's just going to look wrong. It needs to be rethought, like how the clear stories work, how the roofs go together, how the roofs intersect with the glass walls, all of it, to design it so that it's cohesive.
I think, go ahead.
Oh, no, is this in a high fire area?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Everything in Santa Barbara County is almost.
Yeah,
It's almost everything
Yeah,
that is
that's what I-
pretty much.
okay. Oh, it's.
And then I believe we have the owner online that has his hand raised.
We recognize the owner.
I just gave him permission to speak.
Hello, this is Dr. Desai. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Just want to express a few comments. Number one, before I forget, the road crosses an easement on the southern side. Somebody had a comment about whether there was a road easement. There is. Number two, I have Parkinson's, and so I'm very disabled. So the design was based on my ability to access the whole house. Especially with the elevator. But we didn't want to compromise the views. So there's views from every room. Number three, we believe in Vastu Shastra. Like a feng shui for Indians. That's why the flow of the house is designed that way. I'd be glad to hear comments about where to put the garage in another area. What the house design wise is based on orientations and relative aspects of the northeast, west, and south. Thank you.
So just to clarify, he mentioned that at the south, there is in fact an easement and we can produce the documentation to
Or
that.
just show it on your plan.
Right, yeah.
That would be
Um,
important, I think.
He mentioned that he's disabled with Parkinson's and that plays into quite a bit of how the floor plan has been designed and flows with respect to widths and openness. And the orientation is with respect to his particular faith and the orientations for the north, south, east, and west based on the open spaces that are presented there inside the floor plan. He welcomed your comments. If you'd like to provide those comments, and obviously they've been recorded because this is on a recorded message. So we'll look into those and
I have another question. On the south on the exterior elevations, the upper deck you said is accessed by a stair. Is that an external stair, an internal stair?
External stairs.
I don't see it on that drawing on the elevations.
can we go to the site plan, please? It would be on the site plan because it's accessed through the outside. C5 shows that. If you can zoom in on there. So that shows site stairs going up to the upper level and then going from the upper level up to the rooftop deck. So
Where does it start from? The mid-level outside deck?
No, it starts from the parking lot side, like the,
to here.
driveway.
To that deck, and then from there it goes up to here.
Well, the deck that's up over the highest one, the one that's way up.
Right, so from here, if we go to the roof plan, you'll see a set of stairs that go up to that.
But I don't see it on the elevation drawing.
It is not shown on the elevations for clarity. We did show a sheet of auxiliary views that detail those stairs.
You need to show how it works because
We show how it works on the roof plan.
show how it works on the elevation. Because it's part of the elevation. You're seeing it.
It is indeed, and we show it on an auxiliary view,
Show me.
an entire sheet.
You need to show it on the exterior elevation because it's attached to the building and how you're going to detail it. It goes up next to the,
AE3 is the auxiliary views.
AE3?
AE3. There, can we go back that one? So there's,
A3, okay.
yeah, this is A3, but this shows the stairs that go up to the rooftop deck.
right,
Now let's go to AE3 and we'll see the auxiliary view. So AE3 shows the auxiliary view where it goes up. Here's the elevator tower. These are the stairs that go from the rooftop deck up to the terrace. Here's another view.
okay, the one on the right, the drawing on the right doesn't look like the elevation, south elevation. The window's in a different place.
With all due respect, this is getting into,
It's going into what the building looks like.
no, the auxiliary view is a standard method of presentation for architectural drawings. We have done a complete set of drawings that shows the proper orientations of the views for clarity. If we were to show the stairs in the manner in which you're requesting, they would not look right. That's why we presented the auxiliary view for clarity. This is drafting 101.
Don't lecture me.
It's out of plane, is what you're trying to say.
That's what I'm trying to say.
So it makes sense. Just for clarity's sake, could you go back to where we see that? Because I just wanted to see which direction it flies out of plane. Go to your elevations, look at the elevations that show from that direction. There's too many facets to put on a single flat plane. It
Right.
doesn't work properly, I understand. Is there the other ones where you look the other direction, Teresa? There, that's what you want to see. So we see the stairs going up on the very left, south elevation, upper left, get to the lower, that deck. That deck obviously has dimension in and out. We hit the stairs that come up at a 45-degree angle, and then we get to that elevation. Walk us through from there to the next level. Because I don't see how it works. I'm just trying to figure out how to put it together.
So in order to do that, we need to look at the roof plan, and then we need to look at the auxiliary view. So if we could please go to the roof plan. So the roof plan shows these steps coming up to the rooftop deck from the lower patio.
Correct, I got
There's
that
a set
one.
of stairs that comes up to a landing,
Uh-huh.
then up to another landing, and then up to the terrace. So this landing.
So it is at a 45-degree angle, but I think so Jim's question is partially valid because you're gonna see that from the elevation, from the south elevation, right? But you can't, but you see the window behind right next to the tower. You got the elevator tower.
Yes.
In the center. But what I think what Jim's question is what does that look like? It won't look exactly correct, but in a flat plane view, what do you see when you look there? Because you're seeing a pretty picture of the tower and the window and the wall behind the stairs. But what do you actually see when we look at it? And it's gonna be difficult to draw.
Well, that would be shown on the auxiliary view. That's why
Okay, so
we
let's look
show
at the
that.
auxiliary view then.
Let me find the page. AE3 is the sheet, and so it's down.
Is it this one?
No, it's AE3. There it is, right there.
Down just a little bit.
And so if we look at that auxiliary elevation D,
I'm gonna try to put them next to each other for you.
Thank you. That would be very nice.
Okay. But it's the other view that you want to see, right, Jim?
It's D. So right now she has it on E.
Oh.
It's on the upper right, so move it to the left and up.
There you go. That's what it is. And then see, that's not what it is.
South elevation.
Okay,
It doesn't make any sense.
this is what we're looking at. We're seeing this window area, but it's twisted, and that's why we can't figure out why this isn't over in front of there. It's way pushed over here, we're not seeing it there, it's difficult to find.
Right, it's because it's tucked in that back area. That's correct.
Can you go back to the other view on the same page that we were first looking at, when it shows the.
On this one?
Oh, I see, you've rotated the
Oh, this one?
look.
Right.
You rotated the drawing so that you can see it from a different angle.
The auxiliary view,
Tell me what the stairs look.
The one down below this. Isn't this the elevation showing? But it, to me, looks like the landing and the stairs aren't similar between these two drawings.
No, that's the interior elevation.
could you repeat that, Dr. Desai, please?
Elevation E is interior elevation.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch that.
That it's the interior elevation, I think is.
The lower sections are interior.
Observation decks rather than something.
Yeah, okay.
A little more.
Well, I think, I mean, in summary, from my viewpoint would be to make sure that you're clear in your own mind, because I'm frankly not, but that you got these stairways in the right location and they're elevated correctly. But, and maybe as importantly, look at the wet blanket effect of the 16-foot ridge line, the way it falls, it matches the contour. So that wherever the soil is below it, 16 feet above. So you want to plot your original great line pre-grading, and then you can go 16 feet from any point on that plane in both dimensions or directions. And then secondly, I would just make sure that you confirm that easement, because that obviously you can't put your driveway on someone else's property. So unless you have an easement. So I think that summarizes my viewpoint. And again, just, I mean, I know we were talking about, you were convincing us how we didn't know how to draw drawings, but and I think that you might want to look at your sections and make them more sections rather than elevations. Because I think that makes them confusing. To me, a section is what's cut right through there and not necessarily elevation in the background. And my final point would be that I think you've created a structural nightmare here, to be honest with you, and I'm sure you're going to be able to solve it, but integrating those insulated panels with a diaphragm roof and how you're going to connect all these elements together, it's going to be sloping these decks and all this is going to be very challenging and very costly. I think that sums up my viewpoint here.
I didn't hear a
Thank you.
comment from you guys, if you don't mind. Where would you put the garage? This is a suggestion.
Well, where you put the garage is really up to your design. I mean, we're not sitting here to tell you where to put where you should put the garage or where you put the sun decks or whatever. Our emphasis is just trying to help you through the process and provide you with some insights and maybe some suggestions that you might not have thought about yet as to how you can configure your structure and how you might implement your design desires into something that's feasible and economical to build. That's the extent of our input here, at least in my opinion. And hopefully we provided you some ideas here that you can incorporate. But this is going to be a very challenging build. I mean, I don't even think you could build that ADU in the future because you'll never get the materials back there. But that's not in this submittal as the planner mentioned. That's not our purview at this point, but the materials on these decks, how you integrate the solar panels, the stairways are all pretty instrumental in how this building all comes together. And so I think that's my opinion.
I have
think
one thing to
you're-
add to that.
Mhm.
Down the same lines with the next time you come in, can you show us what the stairs look like? Get actual, detail of the stairs, how they're put together, how they look. And concentrate on your alternate drawing, your auxiliary drawing in that particular location. Just so that we can see how that works. Because from a building standpoint, I'm looking at that and going, holy mackerel, how in the world do we make that work? Especially since there's that window in the background right there we keep seeing. And that's what's kind of confusing me. I don't see how that works, but that's okay. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way to build it, obviously. So
The owner asked the question about the garage. The location of the garage, you need to have your design professionals help you figure this out, but where it is located, there's no parking available on the site. There's a hammerhead that negates the rest of the parking from the driveway. So
Well, you can put 2 cars in front of the garage and 4 cars inside the garage for a residence of 3 bedrooms. I'm not sure how many more parking spots we need to have.
That was 4 cars in the garage and 2 cars in front of the garage is what was stated.
for the record, we could see that. We're just,
in order to get out of the garage, you have to do you have to back down the driveway and go into a hammerhead and then turn around.
yeah.
And there's easier ways of negotiating than that. My mother would never make it out of that driveway.
Jim, I wouldn't make it out of that driveway.
And it's a 4-car tandem
Not-
garage,
Yes.
which means how do you get to the cars in the front?
Yeah,
How
no,
do you shuffle cars? There's no
Right.
space to shuffle cars.
Yeah.
2 back ones to get,
Right.
yeah.
You've got 2 cars on the apron, 4 cars inside. How do you move them around?
Yeah, it's just it's a basic design problem from the beginning of site design and then allow the building to progress from that.
I mean, for the size of the garage, if the garage was at the lower level, more like a subterranean garage, that would still have an elevator that could give you access to the house, and it would also give you a lot more space to get in and get out. Instead of having to tuck it all the way up back next to the hill.
But then you'd be grading much more.
can I offer one more? This is a suggestion. When you look at your site plan, if the garage proper or car parking for yourself was more towards, let's say the north, I guess that's north direction, and that was a drive-through area that got you to the north end of that of your dwelling, you could have passage to make your ADU and also still get your garage and be able to make a better turnaround because you've got access to all the property that's on the north end of the house. That's just one very simple thing that you could do to increase the usability of your site.
But then you're worried about external walking out of the garage and then walking into the house. With Parkinson's, I'd rather have a connection to the house.
Yeah. These are some items, Dr. Desai, that I think we can discuss at a different meeting.
Okay.
So it does appear that through the discussion, we have touched on the relevant points, location of doors, stairs that are inconsistent between plans. Elevations are not consistent across plans, showing access to the deck, and then providing a comprehensive picture of the design, including the garage. So I think in some ways we've touched on each of these, and I've received the necessary information I need to pursue discussion with the client on addressing the concerns. So if there aren't any additional questions.
You need to look at the roof and make it cohesive. You need to detail one element to the next element to make it all flow correctly. It has to make logic sense. The external windows, fenestration, they're random. They don't, you've got little tall skinny windows that slide. They're probably 2 feet wide. Whenever I put those in, they just jiggle and they don't, they rack. It's not a good shape. The window shapes are inconsistent. They all need to be looked at as well. And look at those clear story windows. I don't know why they're chopped up into little pieces like they are. Maybe it's better if they're larger pieces of glass, but coming down to a point, you don't end up with, there's no glass left in the window at a 1.5 and 12 slope. Think about it. And figure out what you're going to do with the retaining wall along the driveway.
You're agendized for conceptual, so there's no action the board will take today, other than just offering the comments. Is there any further comments that anybody wants on the record?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Robert, would it be hard to get a 3D drawing, 3D model of this?
It would not be difficult to do that. We could certainly do that.
I'd like to see one.
I would too. That would be
Yeah.
really helpful.
That's,
I think it would clarify for your client too.
Don't these new fancy programs you guys operate?
Oh,
kinda-
yeah, you push a button and they just
They just
instantly.
make it, how you tell it the height, the width, the length, and it just starts developing it, right? The walkthrough version of things?
That's just.
Nothing's that easy.
Well, not, if it was easy, I could do it, okay?
Okay, so
It's easier than doing a full-scale model.
Before can we just make sure that we have no public comment?
Is there any public comment?
You're on, oh. We're gonna say something, Shannon?
I was gonna say something real quick, just what I noted in the beginning that this had actually gotten past conceptual review and should have been scheduled for preliminary. And I understand that the board's not ready to take an action today, but if we could just clarify what they should return for, that would be helpful for the minutes.
Well, it was agendized for third conceptual.
Yeah, that was a mistake, yes.
Okay.
Should have been preliminary.
Correct, yeah.
I think you want to return for preliminary.
I think, yeah, I don't think we're ready to say it's preliminary. I think that we could say, okay, you got the concept down. Now try to, come back and get the preliminary done, but I don't think we're ready to vote on it, Shannon.
Understood. Yep, I just want to note in the minutes that they should return for preliminary if that's the case. So,
So noted.
okay, thank you.
And then if you're online and wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm not seeing any public comment.
Thank you. With that, I think that that's the end of the presentation, and we appreciate your time, and hopefully we did some good and helped in some way. So,
yes, thank you. Thank you for your review and comment.
Do you think you made major strides by eliminating the container?
Oh, yeah,
That's a very big positive forward step.
yes.
Thank you.
thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Have a good weekend.
Do we have any other business to contend with? Seeing no further business, can we have a motion to close the meeting?
Yes, yes.
I don't know who firsted and who seconded it, but can we say aye?
Aye.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Shannon.